psychology and our third attempt at a flip video. Social psych is a particular branch of psychology that deals with how group interactions influence individual behaviors. There's a few basic principles you need to know. First of all, attribution theory. Attribution theory states that when we watch a person's behavior, we make a judgment about the cause of that behavior as being either character-driven or situationally driven. And social psychologists in particular believe in something called the fundamental attribution error. That states that human beings often overestimate the importance of character traits in determining a person's action and often underestimate the power of the situation. Attitudes are basically our feelings about a situation or an object, and our attitudes are often influenced by our beliefs. For example, if we believe someone is trying to hurt us, then we will feel fearful and we will react in that same manner. So, we know that our attitudes often affect our behaviors. Also, when we are trying to influence someone, we use two potential routes to influence them. We either use the central or peripheral route to persuasion. And when we're trying to persuade someone using the central route to persuasion, I'm going to target you and try to change your mind using facts about the matter at hand. If you're buying a car and I was trying to use the central route to persuasion, I would talk to you about the fuel efficiency of the car, the comfort of the car, the price of the car, things that are pertinent to the vehicle. However, if I was trying to influence you using a peripheral route to persuasion, I'd be playing on your emotions, and I'd be targeting you with things that don't really pertain to the facts about the car. I would tell you how good you'd look in that color, or how cool your friends would think you are if you had that car. That would be an example of a peripheral route to persuasion. And we said we know that our attitudes can affect our behavior, but we also know that there are situations where our behavior can actually influence or affect our attitudes. The foot in the door phenomena basically states that if we comply with a small request, that will make us more likely to comply with a larger request. An example of that would be when a telemarketer calls you. If they, right off the bat, go into their sales pitch, many of you will just hang up the phone. But if they start off with some type of cordial introduction and you have some type of social exchange, you have now basically answered the phone and complied with a small request of talking with them. So now when they move up to a larger request, you're more likely to sit there and listen and potentially comply with their request. This is because we are in a habit of saying yes or engaging with this person, and our behavior of initially responding to the first request will influence our attitudes and make us more likely to comply with a larger request later. Roles are another way that our behavior can actually affect our attitude. A role is a set of social expectations associated with a certain position in society. So in the case of the Stanford Prison Experiment, we took average people and we gave them a role as either a prisoner or a prison guard. They acted according to that role. Eventually, because of their behavior acting those roles, it actually began to change their beliefs or their attitudes to go along with the way they had behaved according to those roles. And you can actually see a lot more of that if you go to this website, stanfordprisonexp.org, where you'll see actual footage and more descriptions of what happened during Philip Zimbardo's Stanford Prison Experiment. Finally, we have a term called cognitive dissonance, and this is often very confusing to people. Cognitive dissonance essentially means that when we have conflicting thoughts, we feel a certain amount of discomfort because of that conflict, and we often try to act to resolve that feeling of discomfort. I like to explain it as feeling hypocritical. You've said something and it doesn't actually conform to what you believe in. That makes you feel uncomfortable because you were inconsistent. And there have been lots of cases where they've done experiments to see how people react to cognitive dissonance. One example of that experiment would be when people were asked to perform an action for a very small amount of money. after they performed the action for what was an insignificant amount of money, maybe $1, when they were asked why they did it, they often explained that they enjoyed it or they wanted to do it because they felt that it would be embarrassing maybe to say that they would have done that action for the payment of $1. But when they were asked to do the same action for a more significant amount of money, maybe $20, when they were asked why they did that action, they said, well, someone paid me $20. So an action that they initially might have thought was immature or impractical, they would later say was fun or something they wanted to take part in because they felt discomfort explaining that they would do it for something as little as $1. That is social psychology. Until next time.